Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Mr. Klein, my good friend and neighbor in Virginia, the way I hear your bill being described is not the way I read it. It sounds like all 1,406 regulations that are being tracked by the Judiciary Committee, if I'm listening to my colleagues on the other side, that if a bill were to be brought forward, your bill would require all 1,406 be in there at one time. That is not accurate, is it?
No, I'd say to the gentleman, it's not. It's allowing the committees of jurisdiction to select which regulations would be considered together that might have the same topic or cover the same issue.
And switching gears a little bit, I was a little surprised to hear such a mischaracterization of the single subject rule. And the gentleman has heard me pontificate on that rule since our days in the Virginia House of Delegates together, have you not?
Yes, I have.
And did we ever say that it was only one small issue at a time, or did we say the subjects had to be related?
That's exactly right.
The subjects had to be related. So that's why I've never objected to an appropriations bill. I've never objected to a reconciliation bill. I've never objected to a National Defense Authorization Act. Even though they're broad, the gentleman would agree with me, those are three areas where we consistently have very large, very broad bills, but they are a single subject. Would you not agree?
I would agree.
And so what this does is this does not get rid of the single subject at all. It merely says that we're taking up regulations that we find are inappropriately passed by the prior administration, and your bill would say that we can look at them. It still has to be within the 60 legislative days, but we can compile them together only during the last year of any administration. Is that accurate?
That is accurate.
And so then we could take them up, and if we desired to do them by committee, we could do that, but we're not mandated to do that by this bill, are we?
No.
Now, I'm going to go a little far afield here because some people were talking about how we like the CRA, and they asked you a leading question about the Congressional Review Act. I will tell you, and I don't know what your opinion is, I have always thought the Congressional Review Act did not go far enough in protecting legislative Article I prerogatives, because what it says is if an unelected bureaucracy enacts a regulation that Congress doesn't like, we can't withdraw that on a mere vote of the House and the Senate, a mere majority in the House and the Senate. We have to not only get the majority in the House and the Senate to undo a president's action or his executive branch action, we have to get the president to agree with us. So therefore, that limited time from the time of the inauguration of a new president, which eats up, before you get the old president out of here, we've already eaten up a bunch of the days in the 60 legislative days, and no president is going to say, I had my team enact a regulation that I'm now going to say we made a mistake. No president's going to do that on his way out the door. So the urgency is that we only have a limited amount of time to look at and make decisions on 1,406 pieces of legislation, and we don't even have the full 60 days because part of that 68 days was eaten up in the prior administration. Am I not correct?
You are correct, Madam Chair. I'd say that once that horse is out of the barn, you are not able to easily get it back in.
And so what we probably ought to be doing, if my colleagues on the other side of the aisle want to join me in really giving us Article I power back, we will pass something that says any regulation that Congress rejects on a majority vote of the House and the Senate is automatically null and void without having to get a presidential signature. That being said, Madam Chair, I yield back.
Madam Chair, can I have a unanimous consent request? I'd like to ask unanimous consent to insert the bill that we're talking about into the record, because nowhere in this bill does it say anything about single subject or single committee. You can do whatever the heck you want to do under this bill. There's no limitations in this bill. Maybe, my friend, maybe we should read the bill before we make. Mr. Klein, you said
without objection, the chairman, the gentleman may insert the text of the bill.
Madam Chair, might I respond?
Yes,
I was responding to the arguments of my colleagues on the other side. If it comes in and it appears there's not a single subject, now I would submit rolling back regulations is in fact by definition, a single subject. But if the gentleman wants to bring that up,
Oh, my
I would probably support something that truly made it a single subject. But the amendment that was previously offered does not do that because it says it has to be the same subject. And I will tell you, Madam Chair, the same subject is rolling back bad regulations within the last 60 days. That's a single subject. So I have no problem with that. But I was just responding to arguments by the other side and showing how their arguments made no sense to me. And I yield again.